Askreddit Asks, what's the scariest thing going on in our world right now that not enough people know, talk about? The collapse of the insect population.
Over the past 5 to 10 years, the insect population in our neighborhood has tanked. No more fireflies, no more bees, no more butterflies. And this year was the first year toads didn't come to our swimming pool and have their orgy. It's terrifying how quickly these changes have taken place.
Not the scariest, but a lot of the people who helped clean up the BP oil spill from Horizon are suffering long-term medical issues. Their case has been essentially swept under the rug. Edit. Spelling. Superbug STDs and other superbug infections. An incurable gonorrhea is now a thing.
A strain of incurable gonorrhea was actually started in my town quite a few years ago. There was a public health warning and things stapled all over the health department here. I'm not sure when they stopped making it a big deal. But it's rather scary. Damn Coachella.
Antibiotic resistance and the overprescribing of them. I don't think this gets talked about nearly enough, and it's already a problem. I remember reading an article recently that said in the future antibiotic-resistant bacteria-related deaths will surpass cancer deaths.
It gets worse. There are strains of bacteria in hospitals that are showing evidence of alcohol. URL redacted. Articles 322,646. PHP. Which means that out-cleaning solutions would get much less effective.
When Texas flooded during Hurricane Harvey, there were 13 Superfund sites that got hit. A Superfund site is an area where there are hazardous substances or pollutants on a huge scale. A bunch of chemicals got swept away into those flood waters and no one will know the effect for years. Edit. First gold and silver. Thanks, kind strangers.
Don't forget that they just had a plant explosion in which tons of chemicals leaked into the water system. They said only 3 frogs and 4 fish were affected by it. Recently there have been sharks, fish and other marine life washing up dead on shore in Galveston.
I think the scariest thing is that everyone is talking about things that should terrify us. But we're all too apathetic to care. The insects are dying, and by that the food chain is disrupted and we can say goodbye to a majority of other species. Can anyone ELI5 what's happening with the insects? Is it global warming or some kind of pollution or habitat destruction? Whatever it is, I assume it is our fault.
Yep, we are heading for a major extinction event, including many of our food crops.
Thanks for all the anxiety, everyone.
This thread basically says that we'll all be fucked by 2050.
In this thread, 50 ways to kill the vibe at your dinner table.
Anxiety. There's another one.
The Argus URL redacted wiki. Argus's real-time surveillance system can fly for months at a time and has a camera array that can track every moving object, even a few inches small, in a 36 square mile radius. It streams 6,000 terabytes of footage a day, and all of it is processed real-time for asset and target location on the ground. They're used domestically and internationally. If you live in DC, Maryland, or northern VA, chances are there's at least one tracking you right now and recording all your movements into a threat assessment database. Here's a video documentary, https YouTube. P13 Barkmu 8, of it flying over Maryland and some of the tech behind it.
I now know what I want for Christmas.
This was in American Gods and I thought it was made up. Holy shit.
There is straight up, actual human slavery that is going on in parts of the world. We've just kind of been collectively uninformed, ignoring it, and it's really fucked. Edit. In most parts of the world. I'm actually learning a ton from reading the comments. Never realized how prominent trafficking was in US and Canada. Right under our noses.
It goes on in developed countries too, probably in all major cities.
There are more people in slavery today than any other time in history.
The sterilization crisis in the medical device industry and how it impacts our access to safe medical products. And on top of that, how major companies have been off-gassing toxic ethylene oxide gas that has been causing cancer in people who live next to factories for years and no one gave a shit.
The sterilization crisis in the medical device industry. This is the first I've heard of it. Can you tell me more?
I've definitely noticed a decline in the number of bees and monarch butterflies over the years. I used to see hundreds of both every spring. This year I haven't seen a monarch, and honey bees is less than 20. It's crazy to see such drastic changes in less than a decade. Thank you for my very first silver! Exclamation mark. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day and continues working together to save the bees and the butterflies. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark.
I'm not sure if it's the scariest for the short term, but the death of reality. By that I mean how almost every person giving us information, news, blogs, etc., is fabricating or obscuring the truth for better profits. They understand anger keeps people interested and coming back, and go to disturbing lengths to push for those narratives. Trying to follow a news story most of the time as jumping from hyperlink to hyperlink between different news sites with no originating source to be found. I've seen a TED Talk where the speaker openly mocked any sort of critical discourse of his topic that went unnoticed or uncaring. I thought Vice was pretty good, but they also started being openly biased and made me question their authenticity. Unbiased journalism is dying, as far as I can see, and it's rarely discussed. The amount of microplastics, medicine and unkillable pathogens in wastewater treatment. Due to the relatively low medicine concentrations, bacteria and viruses are building up resilience against the common antibacteria and antiviral medicine, which will eventually form a superpathogen that requires a totally new production method. Microplastics are very destructive to aquatic life and will do a lot of damage to the marine life. Water in general will be the new oil due to climate change. So that won't be fun either. Edit 1. Changed a spelling mistake. Edit 2. I am not an expert by any means, but I am a student in this field and I probably made some mistakes in my formulation and in some facts. Some experts have commented below, so do read those comments for a better, more accurate explanation. Last night I watched the documentary, Dark Money, on Amazon Prime. It focuses on Montana as a microcosm of how corporate interests are attempting to wind back the clock to the days when a company could control government. Basically, they look back at the company town mentality of 100 years ago and the model where wealthy business owners could buy an entire legislature and say, "That's awesome. Let's do that." Checks and balances, oversight, journalism, some form of structure that would stave off corrupt practices. They're working towards a paradigm where none of that is active, and democracy is as dead as last year's flowers. Right here in the land of the free.
Prion diseases like chronic wasting syndrome.
At my university there's a team of researchers who follow up on a family who ate a deer with CWD. I think it's been about 10 years now since they started studying them. But it's definitely scary. The continuous nope nothing yet, edit. For those wondering, it is Binghamton University, and there are quite a few articles online about it.
In the frozen ice of Antarctica there are really old bacteria. Older than humans. If the ice melts, then those bacteria would release, and since nobody is resistant against them, who knows what's gonna happen? This is the most interesting comment here. Any links?
You should watch the documentary. The Thing, edit. URL redacted.
Erosion of personal privacy.
Right. With the internet, smartphones and social medias, there are so many problems because of this. The companies just spy on us blatantly. Everyone knows about this but nothing is done. And because of smartphones and constant online presence, your job can also invade your personal privacy. My manager sometimes messages me at like 10 p.m. or even later for something work related. Sure, I am not obligated to reply, but still, I hate seeing that when I'm supposed to be chilling at home far from work.
Plastic. It's everywhere. In our waste. In our food. In our bodies. In our drinking water. Obviously we know it's in the sea. Sure, grocery stores are slowly rolling out not using plastic bags, which is awesome. But it's scary how it's taken over everything in our lives. Even in money. We can't stop using it, yet it's building up waste everywhere. And it's causing issues in our bodies with all the micro bits we have consumed.
Scientists have had a hard time finding control groups to study because literally every person and animal they've tested has microplastics inside them.
China's social credit score system. The North Korea government. And dying bees.
Active. Offending. Unprosecuted pedophiles actively creating, sharing and exchanging child porn on the dark web. Over 70k active users. That's at least 70,000 people around the world, and that's just one site on the dark web. Edit number 1. Here is the documentary I watched by a YouTuber called Ron Swanson called Hope Dies, URL redacted, GGGZBGMJCZW. It's not everyone cup of tea, but it highlights some key issues and certain sites on the dark web along with other stuff like how to report sites and things like that. Edit number 2. I'm glad that so many people got involved in the discussion and are actively talking about these issues. Edit number 3. These are the sites where you can report child abuse online using their submission forms and get advice about accidentally exposing yourself to the illegal content. IWF Internet Watch, URL redacted, N, anonymous, exposing, URL redacted, reporting, stop child abuse. Do you recognize any of the items in these pictures? Safe to, URL redacted, stop child abuse. Thank you for all the upvotes and debates. It's a shame my first blow-up comment is about pedos though. Edit number 4. Thank you so much for the gold kind, stranger. This means so much to me, black heart.
Isn't there a slave trade in Libya that no one's talking about?
There's a slave trade in about half the countries on Earth, but yeah, Libya is one of the worst. What kind of slavery? Sorry if it's a silly question. Like, I am aware of sex trafficking. But are there other types of slave labor? Like, are people actually having slaves do their work for them?
We no longer have any form of privacy or anonymity, no matter how hard we try to keep it. Edit. Thanks for the gold kind, stranger.
URL redacted. This is a good start. New internet where you own your private data. Founded by Tim Berners-Lee. Who created the internet?
In developed countries we waste 1/3 of all food. URL redacted, 40% in America according to this 2012 study.
That PR, advertising and marketing have infected our minds so much virtually all of people's lives are now about perception manipulation. Changing the way you think about things and how other people think about things. Presenting yourself and your life correctly. Saying the right words, parroting the right ideas. We are so self-obsessed we think our perception is reality. We are forgetting that what we think and say is nowhere near as important as what we do.
Kessler syndrome. The sky above us, space, is getting flooded with orbital debris. Some of the pieces aren't even detectable. So those pieces hit satellites. Which turns into more debris which hits more satellites. It could just end with no more GPS signal, research and more. Planes would also be disrupted along with boats due to the communication system. It would take years to recover from this.
Aren't they already devising plans for the cleanup?
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to support the channel, and above all, have an excellent day, you amazing people.